So this is one of those episodes where I am risking being, it's the old man screams at clouds from The Simpsons. And I really do work hard to stay up with the times and to understand how things are changing, especially around technology and culture. And I don't have judgment around that for the most part. I worked with millennials for years working in universities, and I never hated them. I always kind of liked a lot of them. I thought they were essentially sweet kids who cared about the world, who had kind of been sold a bunch of bullshit about how life was supposed to be and what they were supposed to expect from it. And that's not their fault. We're all sold some bullshit by the generation before us, and we have to sort that out. And I'm watching as the millennials sort that out now. I think they're doing a great job. I don't dislike Gen Z. I don't like Gen Alpha. The whole 6-7 thing is starting to wear on me, but that's because I have kids. So I don't really have judgment. I'm not the guy that says that, these younger generations are lazy and they're stupid. I'm deeply concerned about Gen Z's understanding of history and like the larger framework of things, like where you fit things in on a longer timeline rather than just immediate. But like I said, it concerns me. It's not something that I have judgment for them about. It's we're not providing them what they need to have that long-term view of things. Everything is short and fast and just boom, you got to grab people's attention or they're gone. I'm guilty of it. I cut these into shorts. My editor cuts these into shorts for me. And if I don't cut these into shorts, it drives no traffic towards anything I do. The shorts get so many more views and comments and engagement than the long-form video does. There's times I've wondered, why don't I just do shorts? And partially that's because I don't want to be a 100%, I don't want to stand 100% in the lane of short form video. I do think that longer discussions are important. But I do wonder, because that's what everybody watches. That's where everything is going. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. And so the old man yelling at the clouds thing is, I think one of the most important things we can do, one of the most important things anybody can do, something I see in all the most like high functioning, badass people, the leaders, the executives, the people who are starting things that are going to last, is that these people have depth. They are not shallow people. And I think that this is really important because they have like a wide base of knowledge to draw their decisions from. They have a wide base of knowledge about, themselves, about human nature, about psychology, about history. They understand a lot of things. They tend to read a lot of different things. They tend to watch a lot of different things. They avoid the echo chambers that just confirm that they're right about things. In their industry, they make sure to get information that is contrary to what they already believe. And then just as people, they have depth, and some of that has been through what they've been through in life. Some of it is from the disciplines they put themselves through. But just across the board, they have a firm foundation that they are building their life on, that they're building their character on. And the thing with this is that I know like somebody being shallow is one of those things. It's like being selfish, and that those two do kind of go hand in hand. But like we want to criticize, we want to label the person's character. But the thing is that I don't want to come at it from that angle. I want to come at it from the angle of how being shallow hurts you, how it makes your life harder whether you realize it or not. And the easiest way I can explain that is that being shallow is like it's like a tree that grows up, but the roots never go deep. And that's cool because you get the water right on the surface, and maybe they get to spread way out. But in times of like high wind, or when something goes wrong, without those deep roots to hold the tree in place, it tends to fall over pretty quickly. And this is what I see with people who have shallow, like who don't have any ideology, who have no philosophy about life, or who have a very shallow wind in general. So let's take the first group. Let's take the group of people who are just kind of shallow in general. They don't really have an interest in depth. It's not anything they put their mind to. It's not anything that really crosses their radar. This is fine. This is fine for these people so long as their life stays easy. You can skate along the surface with, Reels and TikTok and reality TV and, I don't know, little short form books, or if they read it all. All the popular culture stuff, all the things that are just very immediate. And I want to be super clear, there's nothing wrong with those things. Those things are fine. They have their place, but when that place becomes your whole life, it does contribute to a sort of fragility in life. And that's what I mean when I say it's fine to be shallow so long as things go well. If your life is smooth sailing and you just want to have fun all the time, I'm going to talk a little bit in a second why I still don't think you should do that, but it for you personally, I think it can be okay because I don't know, you don't really have a need for that depth. But here's the problem. everybody has hard shit come their way eventually. Like life is going to punch your ticket eventually. It's going to happen. There's no way around it. Nobody gets to skate through just easy all the way, at least that I've seen. And people who don't have a depth, people who do not have like a firm foundation of character and knowledge and skills and all that stuff, man, when things go wrong for them, it tends to knock them off completely. Like it derails them completely. And some of them never get back up. I have seen people go from like, happy-go-lucky, go with the flow, chill, shallow, whatever you want to call it, to pretty bitter and pretty cynical and like broken for a very long time from what most of us would call like normal life events, a death, a job loss, a big failure of some kind, a breakup or a divorce. Like I want to be clear, those things suck and those things are very, very hard to deal with. They are 10 times harder to deal with if you don't have a foundation of some kind, if you don't have that depth of character and knowledge and skill set and all the things we're talking about here. If you don't have a firm foundation for who you are and why you do what you do, and you don't have things you can turn to in hard times, those hard times will absolutely wipe you out. But then the second group I see, and this is the group I think that is more prevalent these days, is there's some degree of knowledge here. It's like they take a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this. They grab from things all over. And that's as far as they go. That's as far as they go. And the problem with that is that it masquerades as depth. If you're on Instagram, you'll see this. Just go follow people, follow coaches and follow influencers and watch how they have these ideas they throw out there. You can almost tell what they're reading at the time because they're throwing it out there. You can almost tell what they learned yesterday because they sit down and make a video about it. When I think of like a shallow knowledge of something or just a minimal depth knowledge of something and how it can lead to trouble, the thing that I think back to is the big mindfulness craze we had. I don't know, it's probably still going on. I don't know. I don't pay attention to it anymore. But I know like in the late 2015 to 2020, mindfulness was everywhere. Oprah, all these magazines, and they pitched it as a cure-all. It's a silver bullet. It's going to make you calm. It's going to make you happy, and that's cool. It can do that. But the thing is that once you really dive into that practice, you find there's a lot of difficulty in sitting with your emotions. You find that sometimes more anxiety comes up, more anger comes up, not because it's creating it, but because it's always been there and you're becoming aware of it. And that can be really hard to work through. Somebody with a super surface level knowledge is going to tell somebody, oh, well, you just need to sit with that. Like that's just another thing to be mindful of. And it can push people into some really difficult places when that's the kind of bullshit help they get. With somebody who's dealing with deep depression, sitting and being mindful of that deep depression is not always helpful. That turns into rumination so quickly. Somebody needs to have a depth of skill to understand that. And then at the very bottom is this very, very difficult thing of the more you start to watch this self, and you watch the thoughts that pop up and the emotions that pop up and all these different things, you start to lose that sense of self. The firm grasp you thought you had on like I starts to disintegrate a little bit. And somebody who has been given a very shallow understanding of that but pursues the practice for a long time, there are studies and there are stories of people who walk into a 10-day meditation retreat with a very shallow understanding, and it really hurt them mentally and emotionally because of what they found when they found the nothing there at the bottom. And that's just one of the examples of where a shallow knowledge can be a problem. The other problem with it too is that somebody who has a shallow knowledge of something and thinks that they're protected, thinks that it's going to carry them through, when something really hard comes along, it knocks them off. And they're usually so scattered. They've got so many different things that they're into. They've got all these different philosophies and ideologies, and just whatever the flavor of the week is for them, that's their thing. And so when trouble comes, they don't have that thing to turn to. So in both of these instances, like just shallow, just generally shallow, not caring, and then, just shallow depth of knowledge with a few things, the problem that I see is that it's just life comes along and knocks you off your center. And that sucks when it happens, and you have to like reboot everything and you have to figure it out. And a lot of times what I see is people abandon these things that are good because they think, well, that shit didn't help me. That didn't work. So, fuck that. I'm not doing that anymore. And they throw the baby out with the bathwater because it didn't help them. And I get that. But this is what happens in a world where like everything is 30-second sound bites, everything is little short blogs, little short tweets and stuff like that. I don't know, are they still called tweets? They give it a new name since they renamed that platform. But you know what I'm talking about? All these little little where you can just kind of vomit out a sentence. And it's opened up the door for a lot of charlatans and just full of shit gurus who can just throw out one sentence and it sounds like they know what they're talking about. And if it sounds a little mysterious, we're like, ooh, they know something I don't know. So that's the problem with not having depth in those as far as how it impacts you. I think we have to also extend that to understand that we're all part of like an ecosystem of people. We're all connected with other people, whether we like it or not. We are all tied to other people, whether we like it or not. The sense of self that we have comes in engagement with other people. It's like them, us putting something out there, they reflect it back, we put it back out, and it's this synthesis. And that's where we get our sense of self from. That's where we get a lot of our identity from. And when we're in a relationship like that, we have something of an obligation to be able to be in that relationship in a healthy way and be there for other people in a healthy way. Shallow people are unable to do this. They are unable to offer people what they need in times of difficulty. The ones who have that little bit of knowledge, like I said with mindfulness and stuff, they'll offer them something that can help, but they know so little about it, they don't understand maybe the shadow side of that offering or the ways it can go sideways on them. And so I would also encourage you to have depth in something in order to be there for other people, in order to serve your community and to be part of all this in a healthy, good way, to be useful. People laugh because I say, that's my number one thing. I just want to be useful. I want to be helpful. That is what drives me and interests me, is being useful. I often say, I'm probably not a lot of fun. I don't even know if I'm really likable, but I do know I'm useful. I know that from what people turn to me towards. I try to be likable and I try to be fun, but useful is what I angle for if I have to choose. But to be able to be useful for others is a really important thing, because the world is hard and life is hard, and there's going to be those things we talked about that are going to knock you off your center. If you are shallow and you don't really have any way to help people, you're kind of abandoning that role and that responsibility that you have. And so I would encourage you to seek out depth. And instead, instead of jumping from thing to thing, instead of focusing on things that are not going to matter in 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, find the things that interest you and dive into them in a really deep way. Dive into them in such a deep way that they can just almost become your whole world. And these things it doesn't have to be meditation and religion and spirituality and stuff like that. There's a million paths out there that you can dive into. I know people who have they've dived into the path of writing, and that they study how to write and they study how words work and they craft sentences, and what they come up with is brilliant. Brilliant. I'm getting my whole leg tattooed right now. The guy who does that, tattooing is all he cares about. That is his thing. And he has such a depth of knowledge about it, and he knows so much about it. It is his path. This is what absorbs and saturates his world, and you can see it. You can see it in the work he does. You can see it by the way he talks about it. And what's cool is by having that deep anchor, it's moved down to other areas of his life, and he's just solid all the way around. He has good habits. He knows his lane. He stays in his lane. He's a calm, measured, happy person in a pretty difficult world, because he has dived into something deeply. You can do this with books. You can do it with spirituality. You can do it with meditation. Diving into Zen Buddhism for a decade fundamentally changed me as a person and saved my life. And I'm very grateful for that. It's not my one path anymore, but man, I'm so grateful for it. These days, I pretty much only focus on things that help other people, live better, live more effectively, make better choices, because that's what interests me. And if I'm going to do this, I want to be really good at it. I want to only offer people things that are going to help them. By doing that, it makes my life better, because I have something I can turn back to. When I get knocked off my center, number one, I've spent years cultivating a depth of knowledge about different things in myself. So when I get knocked off my center, I can come back pretty quickly. But I also have something to come back to. As things are taken from me in my life, and as I fail at things, or things don't work out the way I want, I have this thing I can come back to that I can say, hey, no worries, I got this thing, and I'm going to study this. And that's available to everybody. And this isn't anything you need to that you have to put a lot of time and energy or money into. Think about the things that naturally draw you. Think about the things that draw your interest and that hold it in a good way, not in that quick dopamine, oh, ha, 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 these two people are fighting, and oh, that car wrecked, and oh, this cat did a funny thing, and then those people fell down the stairs on reels and stuff like that. Think something that really speaks to your soul. I don't know what that means, but you know what I mean when I say about something speaking to your soul. Find that thing and then see what happens. Just focus on it and dive into it in a deep way. Learn about yourself. Study yourself in a deep and honest way. Study how to think better. Study how to deal with your emotions better, and dive into these things and really put some work into them. Read entire books on one topic and see how different your depth of knowledge is than the headline you got on CNN or the little soundbite you got from some dipshit influencer. See what happens when you dive into something in a deep way. Find other people who have studied something, that thing you like, in a deep way, and read what they write. Watch their videos if you have to, but try reading a whole book by somebody on something that interests you and see how you feel at the end of it. That there is something in us that calls to depth, that wants depth in our lives. And when you feed that, it really does change everything. And it brings just a sense of like groundedness and calm to everything. I don't know how to explain it, but when you have that deep thing, when you have those roots and you have something to come back to, like the winds of life and the weather of life and the storms of life, they just don't bother you as much.